Hey, what's up y'all? Happy Easter. Hey, so this is a really long video, but before we get started on it, I wanted to just invite you all, if you don't have an online service to watch for Easter this weekend, I'll invite you to watch Bayside Community Church. That's where I go to church. I'll put the links below to our services. There's one tonight Saturday and a couple tomorrow on Sunday morning. Our pastor, Randy Bizette, he actually filmed a lot of what you'll see in tonight's service while we were in Israel 6 weeks ago. So it's going to be a really special experience, and I think it'll be a real blessing to you. I'll link that in the description below. Now, as you can probably see, this video is very long. It's pure teaching and training, but it's stuff that I kind of do every year, but I think it's really important. It talks about fertilizer rates, and then I actually show you how to apply fertilizer and do it with confidence. So lots here, and I hope it's really helpful to you. With that, let's get right out into the lawn. Hey, what's up y'all? I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. Thanks for coming back for yet another week. Can you hear the sounds of spring in the background? That's right, the mowing crews are out. Things are really growing down here in Florida, and I'm even seeing things start to wake up more and more through the transition zone and up into the north. And that's really exciting, because what that means is it's time for us to throw down our spring fertilizer app. Now I'm gonna put timestamps in a pinned comment below, so that way you can kind of skip through and see the parts of the video that are most helpful to you. But rest assured, there's gonna be something in this entire video for everybody. So obviously I always encourage you to watch the whole thing, because I'm gonna tell you the very best fertilizer to throw down for your lawn, for your grass type, as your first or even as your second spring fertilization. Now when I talk about the best fertilizer for you to be throwing down right now, what I mean is I'm gonna teach you what to look for. I'm gonna show you the why behind the philosophy. I'm gonna teach you the strategy. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you one single fertilizer that's gonna work cookie cutter for everybody. Frankly, because I'm not that guy. I'd rather just teach you the why, because I know you're smart enough to make your own decision. And of course, I think you should taste the rainbow. Nobody just eats steak every single night. And even if you do eat steak every single night, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea, you change up and vary the cuts. Sometimes you have a sirloin, sometimes you have a ribeye, sometimes you go for the filet mignon. And that's really what I'm trying to get at here. Learn your land, learn your soil, understand what your lawn responds to and what it doesn't, and then flex a little bit, because that's really the key to having a nice lawn, is to putting a little of this and a little of that over here and over by there. Now I will say real quick, if you want a full lawn plan, no matter if you have cool season grass, Kentucky bluegrass, perennial rye, turf type tall fescue, or warm season lawn, zoysia, centipede, St. Augustine grass, Bermuda, Bahia grass, I've got a plan for you. I've just updated all of my lawn plans, step by step, what to put down, when to put it down, how much to put down, all those things that you'll need to have a beautiful green thick lawn this season. One other thing real quick, my Florida friends, we're starting to come into finally a little bit more of this closer to the rainy season period. We were so dry for a while. We're still dry, but now we're starting to have humidity and overcast. It's still early in the morning and it's very humid here already. Definitely, as you're doing your first application, my Florida friends, let's start looking at some fungicides. So you'll see I'm gonna apply fungicide today too. I'm gonna go with a liquid just because of the applications that I'm doing. And that's the thing, every part of my lawn will get a little bit different of an application. But before we get into the actually throwing down and spraying and praying, let me explain the philosophy behind this. Let's talk about the grass types and how to choose a fertilizer based on that. Okay y'all, now the first thing to remember is that nitrogen drives the bus. When we're looking to get our lawn thicker quicker, it's nitrogen that's gonna push the most growth. Nitrogen is what you wanna look at when it comes to getting your lawn thicker quicker. Now let's look at cool season lawns, and let's look at your growth spurts during the year. Looks like two camel humps, doesn't it? Spring and fall. That is when cool season turf, Kentucky bluegrass, perennial rye, and turf type tall fescue, and all fescues are gonna put in the most roots and therefore also the most top growth, because remember, grass grabs sunlight, so the more top growth it has, the more sunlight it can grab to produce more sugars through the process of photosynthesis, bringing the energy back down the plant to produce more roots, and the cycle continues. What we're doing is adding nutrients to the soil to help support that process. Now the thing to look at there is your growth spurts, cool season turf, are fairly short, because they're followed by times of dormancy. Winter coming after fall, we all know is dormancy, but summer can also be a period of dormancy. Now you can keep your cool season turf out of dormancy in the summer, and we'll get to that later on in the season, but the idea being you gotta pack in the pounds when the growing is good, and that's gonna be spring and fall. So because of that short growth spurt that we get in the spring, we need to pack in the nutrients heavy so the lawn can take off running really quick and get all the growth in it can, pack in all the roots it can before that summer stress comes on. Now, if you want to know how much nitrogen to put down, I recommend 3/4 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 as a good starting point for cool season turf. All right, so let's do a little fun math here. Let's say you had a fertilizer that has an analysis of 2404. Those three numbers represent nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. We mostly care about the nitrogen, which is the 24. Those numbers are percentages, so 24% of everything in that bag is nitrogen. In DIY lawn care, we talk about things in increments of 1,000 square feet. So if I want to put down 3/4 pounds of nitrogen for every 1,000 square foot of lawn space, I need 3 pounds of this product in order to get that out. That's because 3 times 0.24 equals 0.72, and 0.72 is very close to 3/4. Here, I always like to give you guys different options. This was sent to me by the folks at Greenview. This is a new thing they're coming out with here. And you can see that the analysis on here is 1507. So that means 15% nitrogen. So if you wanted to get 3/4 pound of nitrogen out of this product here, you would apply 5 pounds per 1,000 because 5 times 0.15 is 0.75. Now you could go higher, you could go up to a pound, because just so you know, 3/4 pound, which is what I typically recommend in all my programs, is actually considered a fairly low amount of nitrogen. Back when I worked for True Green Chemlawn, we'd put down a full pound or even 1.25 pounds for our first step in the spring. I tend to back off of that a little bit and recommend that you do more applications during the year at lower amounts of N. Some people would even call that spoon feeding, but the idea being pack in at least 3/4 pounds for this first one. You can continue with that 3/4 pound of N all the way up until things slow down. So cool season turf is going to grow really well. In fact, it does perfect when outside air temps are between 70 and 80. That's like when your cool season turf is ideal. Turf type tall fescue even up into the low 80s and things are really soaring for you. But once you get over 85, cool season turf is going to need a little bit of a rest. So just watch your weather. Every 4 to 5 weeks, 3/4 pound of nitrogen, pound that in there until you see outside air temps are going to be over 85 sustained, and then you're going to back it down. If you'd like a good recommendation from the products that I carry, I'll put links in the description below. Now real quick, cool season turf, not finished with you yet. If your lawn is sufficiently thick and you've done a good job over the last couple years, then you may not have to push it that hard. You could slow play it in, just like I'm going to recommend for the warm season folks. So don't think you always have to continually pound the lawn with nitrogen. If you want to slow play things because your soil has been well optimized over the years and your lawn is thick and healthy, there's nothing wrong with that. Back it down. In fact, that can be a good challenge. See how green you can keep your lawn with lower amounts of nitrogen. But that's not something for beginners. That's something more for the advanced. If you're a beginner and you're just starting out and you want your lawn thicker quicker, don't forget to bomb it with nitrogen. So now that you know for cool season lawns how to get started, let me just tell you, you can throw down your fertilizer at the exact same time that you throw down your pre-emergent. The two will not interfere with one another. Now you don't mix them in the hopper together, it's two separate apps, but making that early investment in fertilizer is gonna pay dividends later. So if you're somewhere up in the northern part of Michigan, Wisconsin, even over into the Northeast, and your lawn is just starting to wake up, make that investment by putting down that 3/4 pounds of nitrogen now so that they'll pay dividends in a few weeks when things warm up. Let me show you some folks with cool season lawns that are mostly through the transition zone, even up into Indiana and Ohio, who put in those early investments. Look at their lawns right now.
Let the summer breeze carry us away. Let the summer breeze carry us away. Baby, to a place where the sun always shines, or to somewhere
Now, warm season, folks, if you look at your growth curve, you'll see that it's a little bit slower and steady, peaks in the summer, and then goes back down in the fall. Also realize our growing season is much longer. If you're down here in Florida, our growing season is actually year-round, but even South Georgia, South Texas, your growing season is a good 10 months. So realize that warm season turf is gonna ramp up. I don't wanna use the term slow, but it is kind of slow, but it's really more methodical. It's really more measured. Warm season turf ramps itself into the summer where it just loves the heat, up in the 90s, and as long as you have plenty of irrigation, your warm season turf is fat and happy. What you don't want to do though is when temperatures are a little bit cooler right now and we're in our drier season, you don't want to push it too hard with nitrogen because you don't want it to run ahead of itself. So with warm season turf, I'm going to recommend 1/2 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 starting now, and you could even keep that going all during the year. If you want to bomb it a little bit harder because you want things to get thickened up, especially if you have a grass type like zoysia or Bermuda that has stolons and rhizomes, you're going to want to start bombing that harder up to that 3/4 pound of nitrogen or even a full pound of nitrogen heading into later May and June in the summer, as long as you can irrigate. But right now in April, slow play it through and let's give it 1/2 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 or even less. You're gonna see the application that I'm gonna do here in a few minutes. I'm gonna just put down 1/3 pound of nitrogen, but I'll also supplement it with some liquids. I like the 818 X Green for this. 4 pounds per 1,000 is 0.32 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000. That's a great way to slow play into the season while also giving myself a nice little dose of potash to help with stress as we do come into warmer weather. Remember, with all of my programs, I recommend more applications during the year as spoon feeds rather than the traditional way of thinking about it, which is to do 4 heavy applications in the year and that's it. I prefer more of that spoon feed type of approach. The other thing is I've kept my St. Augustine nice and green and healthy all year long, so there's no need for me to bomb it. Instead, I'm just gonna kind of maintain it where it is. But again, if you're somebody that your warm season turf is needing to thicken up or you've got a lot of thin spots and you want those rhizomes and you want those stolons to fill in a little bit quicker, once we get into the rainier times of the year, which are gonna be later May, then that's when you can go ahead and bomb it harder with a full 3/4 or 1 pound of nitrogen to really keep things pushed. For all of you though, don't forget the importance of mowing. The more you mow, the healthier it will grow. I actually sent this out in my email blast this past week talking about the 1/3 rule, which says you should never remove more than 1/3 of the grass blade's length in a single mowing. And that doesn't even speak to mowing heights. What that speaks to is mowing frequency, because again, the more you mow, the healthier it will grow. But why do we have to go by the 1/3 rule? What if you go by the 1/6 rule or the 1/8 rule? What if you only mowed every 2 days? That would mean that very little stress is put on the lawn. Only a small amount is getting cut off. And what that means is it doesn't have to put energy into regrowing top growth. It can put its energy into rhizomes, stolons, and roots. So never forget, the most important thing in all of this, no matter how hard you fertilize your lawn, is frequent mowing. And you guys know I always try to give you a store-bought option. So here's one here. This is actually a weed and feed of a different nature. This is for St. Augustine, centipede, and zoysia. And this has atrazine as the weed part. Atrazine actually works as a post-emergent and a pre-emergent. You can put this down as long as outside air temps are under 85, really under 80, which a lot of you are still under 80. Get it watered in, and you can see it's got a lower in count here. So if you put this down at 3 pounds per 1,000, you could actually put it down even heavier than that. But if you did 3 pounds per 1,000, you're going to be right around 0.48 pounds of nitrogen, which is just about a half. So this would be a nice way to slow play and also get some pre-emergence control out of that atrazine. This Sunnyland stuff is available at many Lowe's stores across the South. Okay, so now that you know to look at your growth habit of your grass type and let the fertilizer analysis dictate that, let me tell you what I'm going to be doing for my lawn here today. Okay, so this is my property map, and you can see I have it all sectioned off. Now, section 1, I've been doing liquid with the Easy Flow. I'll make a separate video on that. I already actually did a video about it, but I got a lot of questions about it, so I'll do something separate with that. So we won't be looking at that today. Section 2 and Section 3, these are my front lawns. These are going to get the 818 X Green because I'm slow playing things in this year. My St. Augustine has stayed sufficiently green, so I'm just going to go with a nice even flow, as well as I would like to get some additional potash in there. On top of that, I'm going to put in 700 Green Effect, which is just going to give me a nicer boost of iron and a little bit more nitrogen, but really I want it for that nice boost of iron, and I'm going to mix a fungicide in with that. Section 4, this is the zoysia. I'm going to go liquid over here. I've got a lot of work to do on this once the rainy season kicks in, so I'm just gonna kind of slow play this one with liquids right now, so this is gonna get 1801 green punch. Back lawn, I always run this liquid because I have the lake back there, and so I like to be able to control everything. I don't want any runoff into the lake or into the waterway there, so this is also gonna get 1801 green punch, but no fungicide not needed. Okay, so here we go. Got my X green. It's all taped up because I had to cut it open earlier to do pictures and stuff, but this is it. Now I want to talk a little bit about spreader settings. So any fertilizer you get, the spreader settings, they're not gospel, they're just suggestions. It's up to you to make sure that your spreader actually matches those settings. Those settings are made for a spreader that's been assembled perfectly and is in perfect working order. I've had this for like 4 or 5 years now, so it's definitely not gonna be like it was the day it was brought out of the package. Also, I mean, anytime you've put a spreader together, if any of you have done it, it's not easy. None of them are easy to put together. And there's just, you know, there's a lot of parts on here that can be off. So what you want to do is always test on a small area of your lawn first. I get emails all the time of people, they take the entire bag, they dump it in and they go and they're like, well, it ran out halfway through. I'm like, yeah, bro, because you gotta test a little bit, okay? This is not precision equipment here. This is a $100 spreader. Well, it's overpriced. I think they're like $120 now, but either way, you get what I'm saying. This isn't a $450 Lesco. Even those need to be calibrated though all the time. I'll put the label up on the screen, but as you can see here, Earthway 2600 A+, the setting is 13. Now I think that's probably gonna be about right, but I'm gonna test it. So we're gonna dial this down to 13 and I'm gonna show you real quick. I've done this before, but it's always good because repetition is the key to learning to do other things. So there we go. So there it is. See even how that, see, I probably need to grease this thing, Weezer. I'm just gonna look at the opening. So I can see the opening there. Now wait till you see, these are super small prills. You've heard of greens grade? These are greens grade minus. And that's good because they get into the soil really quick because of how small they are. They get down through the turf canopy, but see how fine that is? That is those are chicken poo infused granules. There's a lot of other stuff in there. But this is what's called a homogeneous fertilizer, and what that means is that every single prill has the same amount of analysis in it, the 818, and that's why they're all the same color. So this is good. Homogeneous fertilizers are, I want to say superior, but they have some advantages to them, especially when they're in these small prills. It means that everything that goes out there is exactly the same. But either way, you can see as small as those are, you got to be careful. You could get that out way too quick if you're not paying attention. And that's where I'm saying, I'm set on a 13 here, but I don't know if that's right. I really don't. And when I put this down in here and I look at how small those granules are compared to those openings, I'm actually gonna go a little bit more conservative with my test here. I'm gonna dial this back to like an 11. Okay, because remember, the spreader setting is just a suggestion. Okay. That looks a little safer to me. And all I'm doing is I'm just using my eye. I'm just being logical. I'm looking at the opening and I'm looking at how small the prills are and how they can fall through there real quick. Remember, trust your gut. It's okay. Test and trust. Once you get going for a while, you'll understand. As you're applying, you'll know. You'll be able to feel it. Too fast, too slow, you know, that kind of thing. Do not be scared though. You're not gonna burn your lawn with this. But I still don't recommend you put the whole bag in and just go for broke. Try one small area. So this area here is 2,500 square feet, and this is all that I'm gonna do for right now. So I don't have a lot of risk in this. So the rate on the XGN or the X Green is 4 pounds per thousand, and that's gonna deliver 0.32 pounds of N and 0.32 pounds of K. Very low. Remember, I'm slow playing it here. So if I have 2,500 square feet and I'm at 4 pounds per thousand, I need 10 pounds of product. That's a 45-pound bag right there, you see? So my risk is only 10 pounds, that's it. If I screw it up, I'll lose 10 pounds. I'll either get too heavy, too light. Really, I'm not gonna lose anything, but you get what I'm saying? I'm only risking 10 pounds of product to test here. And you only have to test it once. Once you do this one time on one piece of your lawn, you know. However, I do recommend retesting every single year because again, your spreader sits in the garage all year, it gets banged and bumped and thrown around and things change. That's why I'm going through this mess. I've been using that spreader for years, but I'm still going through this just to make sure that I don't over under apply. I wanna get things as close as possible. So I got this handy dandy scale here. I think this is a luggage scale maybe, but you could use a fish scale, you know, whatever works. Cheap thing, I'll put a link to it below. I mean, I don't necessarily recommend this over another one. It's just a scale, you know, just any old luggage scale works fine. 1.8 pounds there, so now it's tared. So now I'm at an even 0. Put that down and we're gonna attempt to, and we're gonna get 10 pounds of product in here, and then we're gonna go spread. Now I know what most of you do is you eyeball this. And that's fine if you do that, but I wanna show you how to do this the right way, so that way if you decide to eyeball it, you know, that's up to you. But I always wanna show you the most like detailed way to do it, you know. I just think that's a better plan. Ain't that pretty though? Look at that. Beauteous. Overcast day, isn't it? Let's see. So that was 7.55 pounds. Can you see that? I don't know if you'll be able to see that. So I need to add a little more. Can you see that? It's reading like 10 1/3. 10.43. So I need to take out just a skosh and we'll be good to go. Give that to the bushes over by there. And you get some fertilizer, and you get some fertilizer, and you get some fertilizer. Okay. So that is 10 pounds of X green in there. Now, I'm gonna put it in the hopper, make sure it's closed. Remember, the suggested setting is a 13. I dialed it back to an 11 just because I'm just visualizing and I just want to make sure. I'll know right away how things are looking. And if I come in a little light, that's okay. So now what you do is you just take a look at your lawn space. Again, it stretches from here over, a little bit back here. And you just look at this. So this hopper is about like a quarter full, okay? So I'm just visualizing the hopper, what it looks like. Can you see that quarter full? Looking at my area, and what I'm gonna do as I apply is I'm gonna watch this go down and understand how far am I through my area. I'm just gonna use my eyes, my logic, and trust my gut. Everything will be fine. Not everybody will be able to do a trim pass, but essentially what a trim pass is I push this lever over here. So I'm gonna go down on the trim, and the trim pass effectively cuts off anything throwing out that side of it. It only throws it here. Then as I come back down, I'm gonna throw back to the wheel marks of the previous pass, which will be right among the edge. So my second pass will be coming this way and it'll be here. Then my third pass going back that way, I'm gonna be throwing back to the wheel tracks of that pass, and so on and so forth. You always throw back to the wheel tracks of your previous pass. Now I'm gonna get this all done with one direction. There are ways you can do it where you go up and back this way and then up and back that way, but we have a really low app rate here, so we need to get this all out with just one direction of passes. So here we go. All right, now you see my walk speed? We call that putting some ass into it. It's a double fast walk. This is my first time pushing this year, so I'm a little out of breath, that's good. But what I've done is, effectively I've done half of the lawn space now, so I'm just stopping, and I should be halfway done with my first, so let's look. I don't know if you can see the line there, but when we started we were about a quarter full. Now we're about an eighth, so I'm using visuals here. Looks like I'm about halfway done, and actually it looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna finish this off knowing that I feel like I'm doing pretty well here because I've stopped halfway through and it looks like I got about half of my fert left. Okay, so I'm coming down to my last run. I don't know if you can see. I can see it. My wheel marks are right here. So that means if I go right down the middle right there, I'll be throwing back to the wheel marks. Probably some will go out into the street a little bit, but that's why we always get a blower and blow everything back in. But let's see how much I have left for my last pass. Oh, look at that, see? Yeah, there we go. I'd say that's pretty decent. Just a little bit left over, but I mean, not much. I have this on an 11, but the setting is a 13 on the bag. Now you can see the difference in an 11 and a 13 on this spreader is very minimal, right? So, and again, I've had this thing for several years, Never really done any adjustment to the linkage or anything like that, so for me, the setting is an 11. And that is exactly why we test. Now I can go and apply my second area, which this is a 2,000 square foot area, and I can apply it with confidence because I've tested and I know I'm not gonna waste anything. Now let's just say that while you were applying this, you ended up coming up heavy. Well, then you would just have to add more to the spreader using your logic and finish the app off, but then adjust going forward. If you ended up being light, well then you could go back and put more down if you want. You're not gonna hurt anything. Again, our N rates are so low here. So that's why this is a great product to learn with, test with. Milorganite would work the same way, same kind of deal. You're not gonna hurt anything if you come up short or long on your first application, but that's why I have you do it on a small area like this, 2,500 square feet. That way your risk is minimal. And if you do mess something up by coming in light or heavy, no big deal. You pretty much learn from there. And that's how this works. You really only have to do this one time and it'll click for you, I promise. So there you go, guys. I know it's been a long video. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope that it helps you improve your lawn this year, and I hope you have a wonderful Easter weekend and week to come. I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the lawn.
Oh, oh, oh,